So hello everyone, welcome to this week's blog. I'm on the road today where I am going to share with you a little later on, but what's a couple of minutes for you is nearly 5 hours in the Batmobile for me. So we're going to hit the road. I'll tell you why I'm on the road this week and what I'm doing. So a bit of a contrast in weather. Today it's absolutely pissing down, and so I'm going to have to take my time getting down the road, and I'll let you know where I am in a bit. And welcome to Bristol, my second most favourite place in the United Kingdom, after, of course, the mighty Middlesbrough. Now, why am I here? I will share later on in this blog, but this is the Clifton Suspension Bridge that you can see behind me. The last time I crossed this bridge, I'd had a few too many sherbets, and I was walking across because I was here on my computational fluid dynamics course going back a few years now. So yeah, I braved the traffic and the weather to come down to Bristol, and why I'm going to share with you now. Okay, welcome to my hotel room, and full disclosure, I'm actually recording this part of this blog a couple of weeks later, in fact 3 weeks later, because when I went to record this part in my hotel room in Bristol, my camera decided to fail on me. So I've been waiting for a new camera, and you are now being recorded on my new camera. So let's continue what we started in Bristol. Right now I'm actually at London Heathrow, and I'm about to go out to do some more training, and that will be a blog in another couple of weeks, providing this camera doesn't let me down. So as I don't think I've mentioned it on the last two bits because it's been a while since I've recorded those first two little bits. I'm in Bristol, or I was in Bristol, because I'm supporting the acquisition of some S1000D software for a major prestigious client here in the UK, and they're giving me permission to do this YouTube video, providing I don't mention them or any of their kind of project specifics, so thank you to them for that. So one of my main jobs is that I advise clients on identifying the right software to meet what they need for their projects, for their aspirations, for their vision, and those kind of things. In fact, if you're coming to TDW Live in a few weeks from me recording this, and I'll put a link down below, I'm going to talk about why you need to have a Tech Docs vision, why you need to have a Tech Docs plan and a management plan and a project plan and all those kind of things. Anyway, I'm sure for many of you, I am actually preaching to the converted, or I'm singing to the choir if you prefer. So what I wanted to do on this short blog is kind of just go through some of the things that I say to my customers when we are trying to go down this route of identifying a software solution. I need to say that since I've started this YouTube channel, the number of emails and notices that I'm getting through LinkedIn and those kind of things, people sharing with me your experiences, not only with software, but also implementing things like S1000D and some of the pitfalls that you went down, and some of the kind of rat's holes that you went down, and it became a real problem for you. So I thank you for everybody who does send me messages, and you know, the ones that I've had from a couple of you, I never name companies, but some of you in the States that have shared with me some of your S1000D nightmares has really kind of galvanized some of the things I say on my training and my consulting, but also has, with your kind permission, has extended my training. So I've actually been able to include your experiences inside my training material. So a huge thank you for that. And it just proves to me that this is a really nice little community to be in the main. So I'm going to go through some of the things that I normally start my consultancies with, just purely because I think it's good and it's value for all of us on here. And a couple of weeks ago, I think I'll put a link up above me, is I did something on the kind of the few things that I kick off my training with. But I'm going to go through some stuff on here because I think this is important. I'm not going to go through everything because, of course, that's where I'm making my money, and that's where people are paying me to come in and support their organisation. So in no particular kind of order or preference or priority, these are some of the things that I talk about. So the first thing I say is we shouldn't be focused purely on cost. If you are purely cost driven, and I'm talking about here specifically identifying a software solution, and we could talk about service providers as well, because I'm helping a couple of companies right now replace their technical publication service companies. But if you are purely basing a purchase decision on cost alone, I think you're going to find yourself in a little bit of a wormhole. And as I've already said, I'm going to talk about, I'm delivering developing a technical documentation strategy workshop to a startup in a few weeks. And I'm going to talk about pricing strategies. And I've had a couple of questions in recently, since being in Bristol and now being here in London, on how do we actually cost an S1000D project? And that is a really good question, and I've got some good slides on that, on how I think that the inputs that we need to measure and the outputs that we need to cost and everything in between. So don't waste everybody's time with a full-blown RFI, RFQ if you are ultimately only caring about the cost. You're wasting everybody's time, and you might as well just go and buy the Fiat. Other brands are available if when you really need the Ferrari or the Rolls-Royce. So number two here, don't purchase on a sales demo of the S1000D bike data. The amount of times that I've now been involved in supporting clients, and everybody loads up the bike data. There are one or two vendors that have taken the time and developed their own data sets and show real meaningful data sets when clients are being shown software. The bike sample's fine, it works. There are known errors and there are known issues with the bike data. But it's important that you see it with some good, complex, comprehensive data sets. And so don't base your decision purely on price. Don't base your decision based on purely seeing S1000D bike data in there. In fact, one of the things that I say to my customers is create a micro project. Create a micro project that's representative of what it is you want to see in an S1000D environment, and have all of the vendors that you've chosen or down selected to come in and show you your data sets, and then we can see if there's any smoke and mirrors and that going on as well. So we need to think about how, certainly with now the rise in, I'm not going to say popularity because that would be misleading. I'm going to say in the discussions that are now going on around the IPS, the S series suite of specifications. Is it hype? Is it actually going to happen? I don't know. I've got some thoughts on that, but that's for another blog. But if you are going to integrate into other systems, 2000M, 3000, those kind of areas, how are we going to integrate that? How are we going to move the data up and down these supply chains, the information chains between the software systems? And I'm not going to talk about this particular environment because it would maybe give away a little bit of my customer, but they have two different environments that they need to support. And how does that affect things like licensing agreements and user licenses and those kind of things? We need to be aware of. What do you need on top of S1000D support? So it blows my mind sometimes that if you're looking for just a pure CSDB, there's probably 5 or 6 really good CSDBs out there that I would point my customers at and say, go look at those. If you want a pure CSDB, they will likely do a good job for you. But it always surprises me that many of the CSDB vendors haven't actually really thought about some of the other technical publications processes that go on around the CSDB. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're creating content, and that content comes with work orders, it comes with source data, it comes with all sorts of things. And, you know, being able to use it as a proper production system where we can assign work packages and we can assign, you know, source material to maybe an outsource agent or to an insourcer. You know, we have to think about how we can support all of that data as well and store it through the life of our project. Not so all CSDBs do that. One of the things that is really is it troubling me? I don't know if it's troubling me, but it's concerning me a little bit, is that the amount of you who are telling me you're having problems with the software that you have invested in. Okay, I've turned into a little bit of an agony aunt through YouTube, through LinkedIn, and meeting some of you at conferences, and you share your experiences with me, and I'm deeply, deeply appreciative of that. And you know, because I hate the expert word. Anybody who uses the expert word really, really, really worries me, because I learn from you guys when I talk to you guys as well about how you are actually doing this stuff. Anybody can pick up S1000D and try and learn and try and understand it and develop some training material around it. It takes people that really understand technical publications, the underlying data, structure, etc., to understand what the specification and what we need to know and understand from technical publications. So, I'm deeply appreciative of that. So, but I'm hearing, should we say, some horror stories about, I was going to do a separate vlog on this, so I will still likely do one. But, you know, I'm hearing things like we were promised a feature 5 years ago and we're still waiting. You know, I've heard stories about software vendors that have who should oversold their software. Let's not, you know, sugarcoat it. And then when it actually came, because they didn't go through a test, they didn't go through a micro project, they didn't do, and you know, they didn't realise that the software was oversold, and it didn't actually then deliver what they needed to do. And in fact, I've got a good example of where one project has had to bend what they actually wanted to do to suit the software solution that they bought, because the software solution didn't or couldn't support what they needed to do. I'm not going to go into that on this one because that's a topic for another one. I've done something on this before on YouTube, and this actually got a tremendous amount of comment into me from both software vendors and from those of you who are looking for software solutions, is that really understand the license agreements that you're signing up to, understand what the reliance is on third-party stuff. I've done something else similar to this on YouTube before, so you can go and find it. I think I was in Luxembourg at the time when I did that blog. And you know, we really need to understand the license agreements. I have seen projects that have gone and published IETP after IETP after IETP for multiple projects, deployed them, and then it was actually discovered that under their license agreement they didn't have the rights to do that, and it became a little bit egg on face and a little bit expensive as well. So one thing that kind of coupled into the support that that you're going to get for, you know, areas of S1000D and the ability to work with certain functions and features that you need from the specification, you know, process data modules, etc. Really understand your support and maintenance agreements is really important, but understand what those costs are year on year, because, you know, whilst you may buy a software solution up front and it may cost you, you know, 10 quid, you're not going to buy a software solution for 10 quid. But, you know, just to illustrate it, over a period of 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to spend at least another 10, 20 pound just to keep it serviced, maintained and supported. And, you know, one thing that you should always do as well is have a look at the track record of, you know, how many software tools are actually being invested into. You know, I can name 4 or 5 really good S1000D vendors right now who really invest and develop their software. So your support and maintenance is actually driving the product, is actually making the product better. I always like to, look at how the customer satisfaction is with a lot of the users. Now, one thing that we should also be aware of is that one software solution that works for one project and one organization may not necessarily be the right software solution that works for another, just purely because they may have different creation, deployment, integration, structural strategies. So, and then coming back to that point where I said that the software tools may not necessarily support all the bits and bobs that you need or you want from your S1000D project. So I'm not going to go into more. I've got you all know I'm a huge mind mapping fan. Over the years I've developed a huge map that goes through all the functions, all the features, the level of the support that vendors have, prioritization and those kind of things. That if I was sat with a company, we would go through that left to right, and we would involve all of the right people in the organization at the right time to define a full RFI, RFQ, PQQ, whichever it is that, the methodology that you want to go to the market. So those are kind of some of the things that I look for. I know I had some comments in on the learning one that I did a few weeks ago, and there was a real long one came in from someone, and I thank you for that. I still haven't had time to fully analyse what you've said to me, but kind of agreeing with what I'm saying. And yesterday I had an email in from somebody in New York saying, where's the latest videos? So I'm hoping to get this one published today. So that is kind of some of the stuff that I look for. One, please do keep sending me your comments and your horror stories, but I would really love to hear some of your positive stories as well. I do seem to get quite a lot of negative stories around your implementations of software and S1000D and trying to integrate into other environments. If you've got some good love stories for S1000D, then let me know. And I'm going to do another blog on this, but I've had a couple of comments from people saying that that I'm pushing S1000D. I'm absolutely not, and I'm absolutely clear with many of my customers that S1000D might not be the best approach for them or for their project, and which is why, as I've said before, I don't push on this channel the groups that I'm involved with and the committees that I sit on, because I don't want to be seen to be selling or endorsing one approach over another. That's me. So do keep those comments coming in, really appreciate it. And sorry that I had to do this a couple of weeks later, but that was purely my fault with a camera. I think it got damaged in a bag as I carried it out of the TDW mobile. So it's on me. Quite an expensive break, I'm afraid. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. That was a little bit of me on the road down in Bristol, and I'm on the road again this week. I won't say where I'm going this week because I'll do another blog. But let me know your thoughts, your comments, and I'll speak to you on the next one.